2,000 years ago, and possibly even earlier, the people who lived in the temperate northern highlands of the place we now call Ethiopia discovered one of Africa's more intoxicating secrets. These early Ethiopians would pound the dried leaf of the gesho plant with a mortar and pestle, and then sprinkle it into a sweet fusion of honey and water. A few weeks later, they had wine, which they enjoyed with the evening meal around a large basket-like table called a masab. They named this honey wine TEJ, and today it's a tradition and a legend. You can buy TEJ in a variety of commercial brands made by wineries, but you can also make it at home in your kitchen and enjoy a taste of ancient Ethiopia, the land that gave us the 3.5-million-year-old Lucy, one of our oldest known human ancestors. To create your own brand of TEJ, you'll need 3 ingredients: water, honey, and gesho. You'll also need a 1-gallon container with a lid, a measuring cup, and something to stir it with. Most of these things are easy to get. Tap water is fine, and honey from your local market will do. For gesho, you'll have to shop online or visit an Ethiopian grocery store in a city that has one. Gesho is a species of buckthorn that grows native only in Ethiopia, and you'll need its thick, woody stems and branches to make your TEJ. Fermenting TEJ takes at least 5 weeks if you really want it to taste like wine, so here's how to do it and what it will look like along the way. In a 1-gallon jar with a lid, mix 1 part of honey to 3 parts water and stir the mixture well. These proportions are liquid volumes. The 2 solid pounds of honey is about 20 or 21 ounces of liquid honey, and 80 ounces of liquid will fit comfortably in your 1-gallon jar. You can always make larger quantities. Just make sure you mix the water and honey at 3 parts to 1. When it's all mixed, it should be a uniform amber color. Now add the gesho, about 1/3 pound if you use 2 solid pounds of honey. Stir it well until all of the gesho is wet and immersed in the liquid. Cover it, but don't seal the lid tightly. Now your TEJ is underway, and you can watch it emerge. After 2 or 3 days, you'll see fuzz and fur growing on the gesho. That's bacteria, an important part of the fermentation process. It won't look too appetizing, but don't worry, it's fine. And remember that penicillin looks like this too, so just think of your TEJ as medicine. After 1 week, you should stir the ingredients for about 20 seconds, mixing the bacterial mold into the liquid. Put the lid back on loosely and, once again, leave it alone. During this 2nd week, after you've stirred it, you'll see foamy white bubbles forming on top of your TEJ. Again, this is good. It means that yeast is formed in the jar and it's converting sugar to alcohol. The bubbles are part of the fermentation process, and the more you see, the more active fermentation you have going on. After 2 weeks, it's time to remove the gesho. Stir the liquid again, and then use tongs to pluck the gesho out. Don't worry if you leave a few twigs behind in the liquid. You'll get them out before you bottle the TEJ. Now, replace the lid and relax. For the next 3 weeks, you won't have much to do. You certainly don't want to spend your time just watching the minutes tick by, so why not read some good books about Ethiopia? You can read a few accounts of Ethiopian history written by Harold Marcus, an American scholar, or by Bahru Zilida, an Ethiopian one. Some books about Ethiopian history have more controversial points of view, so don't overlook those. Or you might pick up an Ethiopian cookbook. The biggest one out there is Exotic Ethiopian Cooking by Daniel Mesfin, and it has hundreds of recipes. There's also the big colorful Recipe of Love by Aster Balena, who owns an Ethiopian restaurant in Toronto. Or you could always, whoa, it's the end of the 3rd week. Let's see what our TEJ looks like. There it is, still bubbly on top and fermenting nicely. So give it a stir for about 20 seconds and return to your reading. At this point, you'll probably be a little impatient to taste your TEJ, so why not hunt for a brella? That's the traditional vessel that Ethiopians use for drinking TEJ. It's a flask with a long neck, and the hole at the top is a perfect place to put your thumb when you're not drinking. In Ethiopia, this helps keep an abundance of insects from dipping into your sweet-smelling wine. And make sure you have some empty bottles on hand. You can use old wine or liquor bottles, well cleaned and with the labels removed. Get a variety of sizes for bigger batches of TEJ or for single servings. At the end of week 4, your TEJ will look pretty much like it did at the end of week 3. Give it another stir, replace the lid, and put it back on the shelf for the final week of fermentation. Okay, just one more week to go. Have you thought of a name for your TEJ? I call my homebrew Ferenc TEJ. Ferenc is the Embark word for foreigner, so it seemed appropriate. Araya Ibrahu of New York City makes Aksum TEJ, named for the ancient empire that became Ethiopia and that created TEJ in the early centuries of the first millennium AD. Wilhelmina Sturdiau of Frankfurt, Germany calls hers Begena TEJ, after an Ethiopian stringed instrument. And Steve Grisaitis of Ladsberg Mountain Winery in Pennsylvania calls his Agazin TEJ. Agazin is the Embark word for the native Ethiopian animal we know as the mountain nyala. Finally, it's week 5 and time to bottle your TEJ. Give it one final stir and then get ready to strain it. This is what your setup might look like. A pitcher with a strainer on top and a piece of cheesecloth in the strainer. Do this very carefully, you don't want to lose a drop, and change the cheesecloth in the middle of the process if it begins to fill with too much sediment. Then, using a funnel, pour your strained TEJ into the bottles that will serve as its final resting place, and put it in the refrigerator to chill, so you can enjoy your TEJ with a spicy Ethiopian meal. You may see some sediment in the bottom of your bottle once it's chilled. It's nothing to worry about, just the remnants of yeast coming out of solution. And be aware that no 2 batches of your homemade TEJ will look or taste exactly alike. This is TEJ the way the ancients made it. Well, that's it. Now you're a TEJ maker, and you can enjoy the sweet, spicy, pungent taste of TEJ anytime you like. But drink it slowly. It'll be 5 weeks before you'll have more. And when you do drink it, don't forget to make the Ethiopian toast, Letenachin, which means to our health.
ሰጋቶቻችን አረብ አገር ሄደው እናቢ በማለት እንስራ ብለው ታላቅ ታናሻችን አበሳዩ ይዛው ባጥር በመስኮት በፎቅ እንደ ድንጋይ ተወረወሩ ተለቀቁ ከላይ ሚስቱ የነቃሽ በእኛ ልጆች ላይ ባሌን ቀሙኛል ሳሰማ ሳታይ ባንሰው በነገራት ባስረዳት ያያቸው በማንኪያ ማይነኩት እንኳን በእጃችን